Bad news for the job market, but good news for the crooks. They reached a brand new low, fake job offers, as Ian and his pregnant wife Claire found out.
I heard the news was going to be a dad, and I thought it's fantastic. You want to provide the best for your family.
When you find out you're pregnant, you just plan to buy a new pushchair, buy a new cot, just new things for baby, decorate baby's room. Look forward to having a new child in your life, basically.
With a baby on the way, money was going to be tight, so Ian looked for a new job.
I decided to look for employment that paid a little bit more money than what I was on to give our daughter a better start in life. I went searching on the internet and found through DirectGov a job that stood out from the rest.
He just said, I've seen this job, it's a brilliant job, something I want to do, something I can do. Do you want me to apply for it? And I says, go for it.
What Ian had found was a job with a £30,000 salary, offering the chance to be a chauffeur to the stars.
The interview went fantastic, and it got to the point where it was about to leave, and he says, have you seen the vehicle that you'd be driving if you're successful? And I said, no. He says, the car's outside, have a look on your way out. And it was a £70,000 BMW. He did tell me during the interview that there was £100 retained in case you lost the fuel card or car keys.
Ian paid the £100 and waited for some news.
The postman come, and it was an acceptance letter and a contract.
Felt on cloud nine. We just wanted to tell everybody, wanted to tell the world that, we'd got this fantastic job.
And I thought, I've landed on my feet. It was supposed to be 9 till 5 sort of a job. And I thought, no sort of weekend work, it'd be fantastic for the family. And, I was really looking forward to it from the previous job, what I was doing, which was heavy graft. I handed my notice in at my employer. I thought I'd have a couple of weeks off before I started. I was expecting to get a letter, just before I started to say where you needed to be, what I needed to be doing, whether I'd be doing some training, etc. Where it was a week before I was due to start, and I tried ringing him. Went on the internet, got some phone numbers, tried contacting him, and it just rang and rang and rang. No response.
And I think after about a couple of hours it really sunk in that there was no job.
Mark Shortland was the man behind this scam. He was a serial con man and had interviewed over 80 people across the whole of the UK, offering chauffeuring jobs to all of them and collecting their £100 retainers. But it wasn't just £100 that Ian lost.
It was devastating. It's, you've just had the rug ripped from under your feet. You've given up your employment to start your new job, and to find out that it's just a scam. It's horrific.
Ian rung his old company where he used to work the next day and asked them if he could have his old job back, and they said they would get back in touch with him in a couple of days, which they did, and said there was no position for him now.
I've no longer got any income whatsoever.
But they weren't the only ones who were sucked in by serial fraudster Mark Shortland. DC Juliet Ferrum had been investigating him.
Of course, we've then become aware of this matter and as a result arrested Mark.
He was convicted and given a 3-year sentence. His scores of victims have been left to pick up the pieces. They have gathered on fraud alert websites, allowing DC Ferrum to see the scale of devastation left in Mark Shortland's wake.
There's so much on there from quite a few people who have been affected by it. This chap, I didn't mention him actually, due to the stress of this scam happening, I've lost the sight in my eye, in my right eye. And that was June. And I did speak to him actually, and he said it was through the stress of all that happened. He lost his sight.
Like all the other victims, Ian and Claire have to rebuild their lives. With no salary and bills still to pay, they've had to sell their car, which was on hire purchase, leaving them with another debt.
Due to being on finance and, we're losing my job, I couldn't keep up the payments anymore, so I had to contact the finance company and ask them to come and collect it. It was gut-wrenching,
Behind on their rent, Ian and Claire have had no choice but to pack up and leave their home.
Tomorrow we're leaving the property, You know, everything's been packed up, and you know, it's the final nail in the coffin, so to speak. You know, it's just everything you've worked for is just gone.
Hard to put on a brave face and carry a baby, and sorry.
You know, these things have happened now, and there's nothing I can do about it apart from try and drag myself back out the gutter and try and hopefully get another job. And my wife's due to give birth. You know, what, from a man's point of perspective, what can I provide?
That's all from Fake Britain today. Bye for now.